As the Middle East teeters on the edge of a wider conflict, the repercussions of Israel war extend far beyond its borders. Amid mounting accusations of war crimes, many documented in the very social media posts of Israeli Defense Force soldiers, a quiet but steady exodus has begun. Former IDF members, facing growing international scrutiny, are seeking shelter in countries unlikely to persecute them. One of the most talked about destinations lies in the remote wilderness of Patagonia, Argentina. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu raised questions in Latin American media when he was seen examining a map of Patagonia during a strategy meeting with Javier Milei. After all, Argentina has long been eyed by Zionist movements as a potential Plan B, and it is now once again emerging as a haven for those fleeing the fallout of genocidal wars. Estamos aquí con Sebastián Salgado, periodista argentino. We're here with Sebastián Salgado, an Argentine journalist who has been reporting from Patagonia on the influence of the IDF soldiers who are now wanted for crimes against humanity and who are moving not only through Argentina, but also crossing into Chile, as I understand it. What can you tell us? Thank you for being with us. ¿Qué nos cuenta, Sebastián? Y gracias por estar con nosotros.
¿Cómo estás, Oscar? Bueno, gracias por la comunicación. Sí.
How are you, Oscar? Thanks for reaching out. Things are as you say, it's nothing new. It's a process that has been unfolding in Argentina for decades, though it has intensified recently. What stands out now is that, amid the ongoing genocide being carried out by the Israeli entity against the Palestinian people, certain organizations have emerged. One of the most prominent is named Hind Rajab. Hind Rajab was a 5-year-old Palestinian girl whose entire family was killed in an Israeli attack while they were all inside the same vehicle. She survived and managed to call emergency services, likely using the phone of a dead relative beside her, hoping someone would come rescue her. That call, her desperate plea, was recorded. But instead of a rescue, Israel struck the vehicle again, killing her. The organization now carries her name. This Belgium-based foundation is doing important work. They track Israeli soldiers who posted selfies during attacks on Palestinians, often celebrating actions that led to deaths, and shared them on social media. The foundation monitors these individuals and discovers that many later travel abroad, including to Argentina. When this happens, the group works with local lawyers to issue international arrest warrants, pointing out that these alleged war criminals are outside Israel and no longer shielded by its legal protections. But in Argentina, the influence of Zionism is strong. It's no coincidence they come here, because under Javier Milei's government, they enjoy the same impunity as in Israel. They arrive looking like ordinary backpackers, but operate in organized groups. Meanwhile, the Argentine government ignores these international justice efforts entirely.
I spoke with Santiago Cúneo, a true icon of Argentina's resistance, a former boss of Milei, and one of his fiercest adversaries. Cúneo has won 3 Martín Fierro awards and is always willing to speak bluntly.
Los soldados israelíes que vienen de vacaciones post.
They've been coming to Argentina to do this for over 30 years. They enter through the Atlantic coast and leave through the Chilean Pacific coast. And this has been happening for 30 long years. In other words, it's not new, nor is it a conclusion resulting from the existence of this criminal, genocidal Nazi occupation government with Masonic characteristics. It has escalated to the point of reaching an agreement to subsidize these criminals who come to Argentina to rest from their war crimes. This occurred with the signing of an agreement between the Nazi murderer Netanyahu and the criminal Milei. Then people began to realize that we obviously have a crazy psychiatric patient who believes he's the Messiah of the Jewish people, the sick imbecile. It's clear that Milei isn't acting in the interests of Argentina as the elected president of this country. Instead, he says he's using the Argentine state to save the Jewish people, once again confusing with this term what a nation state is with what a religion is, which they call a people. So everything gets mixed up, and the truth is that just are paying for sinners, and obviously the people of Israel are not a people of murderers. The murderers have names and surnames. They are the ones who have been committing war crimes and are walking around Argentina with total impunity. But that doesn't encompass a generic vision of what the relationship between the Argentine people and the people of Israel, of the modern state of Israel, should be. So, I can tell you that in Argentina, the presence of these soldiers, who are actually genocidal men, is part of a cruel invading army carrying out ethnic cleansing, just like the Gestapo. Nazis.
Que lleva adelante una limpieza étnica igual que las Gestapos nazis. Sí, están en la Argentina, pero están hace 30 años.
This is not the first time war criminals have hidden in Argentina. After World War II, thousands of Nazis fled to South America, Argentina being the main destination. Using secret rat lines and protected by sympathetic officials, figures like Adolf Eichmann and Joseph Mengele lived under false identities, evading justice for years, even decades. Unlike the Nazi scientists and security officials who moved to the United States under Operation Paperclip and secure positions of power within the state, those who came to Argentina blended into the private sector, aided by the wealth they had smuggled over in U-boats.
So, what we've seen from these soldiers in Patagonia is that they behave as if they didn't need to respect the laws of Argentina. And then they are very rude to people. They can walk into a supermarket and start eating food without paying, for example, because they know there won't be any local authority to tell them anything, because they have political backing behind them, to say the least. And several things have drawn attention in that regard. One is that we were in Patagonia this summer, where there were very important fires, very, very important in Patagonia, right on the trails where these Israeli soldiers walk. And part of the paradox is that fires always start in Patagonia near waterways. So President Milei changed the land law and the forest law so that any foreigner could buy land in Argentina right now. And he removed the forest law, through which, if a part of a forest burns down beforehand, it couldn't be sold for 20 years. So that prevented intentional fires from starting, because if someone had a piece of native forest, let's say fine, someone else could set it on fire and come and offer it much cheaper, when in reality they keep the land, and it's still next to a waterway. So far, Oscar, there has been only one case in which a person has been found setting forest fires in Patagonia, and it was on the Chilean side, right? It was a forest of more than 15,000 hectares in the Torres del Paine National Park, and it was indeed an Israeli soldier. The soldier's name is Rotter Singer. He acknowledged that he had deliberately set fire to the Torres del Paine National Park, but the Zionist lobby within the Chilean judiciary got them fined only 7,500 euros. Plus, in recent weeks, a long-standing theme has been confirmed. In Argentina, Israeli citizens will be able to have all the same rights as Argentine citizens and even collect a pension from the Argentine pension system, even if they've never worked here, and even if they don't even live in Argentina. In other words, the Argentine pension system will start supporting Israeli retirees. It's as crazy as you're hearing it.
Va a empezar a mantener a jubilados israelíes. Es así de desquiciado como lo estás escuchando.
Yo quisiera decirle a la gente que va a escuchar esto. Yo estuve el año pasado en Argentina haciendo un documental. I would like to tell the people who are going to hear this, I was in Argentina last year making a documentary that we're about to release. It took a year, yeah. And part of it is that we saw how retirees were dying of hunger or disease because they have been deducted 30 to 35% of the effective value they receive. Because in fact, It is estimated that the cut and surplus Milei supposedly had came precisely from that cut to retirees. The 30% average give him away. And we're talking about how later, when they complained, the cops hit the retirees hard. And after that, when the opposition made a political appeal to be able to raise that pension, Milei applied a veto, which Congress later ratified. And then Milei had a barbecue to celebrate hunger, if you will, the hunger of retirees that the state doesn't have to take care of. There's a part in the documentary that I wonder if that's state eugenics. Does that describe it?
Yes.
And it is in this context that you're telling me that they're going to absorb other pensioners.
Sí, o puede ser como una eutanasia, porque es como
Yes. Or it could be like euthanasia, because it's like sentencing them to death. If they can't buy their rights, they can't. If they can't buy their medicines. That's the reality that has turned Argentina's retirees into one of the main political actors. Because, like them, it has to be said in terms of life, they don't have a future in which they can have a life expectancy. With improvements, are they living the final stage of their lives? We're all going to live. They're going out to protest every Wednesday, because between staying at home to die and going out to protest, they prefer to go out. The issue is that Milei goes out to repress the elderly, and people watch it on television. And obviously, that money they're missing, which isn't enough to cover their medicines, their food, much less rent, Milei is offering it to Israeli pensioners from the same fund that's being taken from Argentine pensioners.
De la misma caja que le quitan a los jubilados argentinos.
El factor que desencadenó el episodio de falsa bandera que inició el acto criminal de...
The recent war, I believe, was provoked to shield Netanyahu from prosecution. Just as Argentina's dictatorship launched the Malvinas invasion in 1982 to cling to power, Netanyahu ignited conflict to distract from the corruption investigations against him in the Knesset. This strategy serves only the extremist ruling clique, not the Israeli people, who have long accused Netanyahu of theft, corruption, and warmongering. The Argentine government under Milei behaves like a satellite of this Israeli regime, aligning itself with a dictatorship rejected by its own citizens. What we would hope for, and what the world needs, is for the Israeli people to remove Netanyahu and his criminal circle, opening the door to a peaceful and democratic coexistence with the region. But as long as Netanyahu and his war machine hold power, that future is impossible. Here in Argentina, we are dealing with our own unhinged leader who mirrors the dangerous madness of both Netanyahu and Donald Trump, leaders that their own citizens increasingly demand be removed. Our hope is simple, that these three destabilizing figures, Trump, Netanyahu, and Milei, are all swept aside, allowing their nations to reclaim sanity, democracy, and peace. In Argentina, many are already working to ensure that this erratic extremist government comes to an end. And may it happen also in the United States and Israel.
Sus días en el gobierno, que pase lo mismo en Estados Unidos y que pase lo mismo en Israel.